Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is my review for Sons of Anarchy, Season 7, Episode 5, Some Strange Eruption. And holy shit, guys, this episode was just amazing. I have to ask the question, how does a show just get consistently better every single episode? Because this episode was seriously just so amazing. I loved every minute of it. I thought everything was so good in this episode. The acting was spot on. Just everything was absolutely fantastic in this episode. And the cliffhanger was awesome. I love the way the cliffhanger ended. And just, oh my god, Sons of Anarchy is just so much more intense now. And the thing is, they pretty much think it's all over right now, and we're going to talk about that, but just everything that happened in this episode was so well done. And this episode I thought was better than the past 4 episodes combined. This episode was just so much more intense, so much went down in this episode. And we're almost to the half point of the season, so let's just get to this episode. So, of course, in the last episode, the Red Woody Club, dead, gone. All the girls are dead. And Jax, because of this, is now smoking the wreckage of the brothel. The first, I'd say, 10 minutes of this episode are reflecting over that. And basically, dead bodies are everywhere, and Happy makes a call. And Bobby says everyone is coming to Red Woody, and they're going to lock it down, because it's pointless now. There's no one there. No, all the girls are dead. What's the point of keeping it around if no one's going to, what's the point of keeping something like this around if no one is going to, if no one's there? What's the point of it? So they also have to send someone to pick up Wes's body because, August is dead. So Nero's in the kitchen when Jack finds him, and he asks Jax why this happened. And Jax asks to the Chinese, but Nero demands to know what the MC did to prompt this. And Jack says nothing justifies what happened here, and Bobby says they need to call in, and Jack says he will, but tells the others to go. So Bobby says to call before he leaves so he doesn't ride alone, and Nero says he'll let Beresky know and the Stockton girls. And Gemma's getting ready to take Juice to her dad's when Happy calls. Hang on one second, guys. I'm just going to turn on my air conditioner because it is hot in here. Sorry, guys. I'm just turning on this. Sorry, guys. It's hot in here. Okay. So Nero says he'll let Beresky know and the Stockton girls, and Gemma's getting ready to take Juice to her dad's because, she basically told Juice in the last episode, look, you gotta get out of here. So we don't know where Juice is going at this point. I, myself, was wondering, where exactly is Juice going? Where is Gemma gonna take Juice? That's what I was personally wondering. And basically, she says she's on her way, but she tells Juice there's drama at Dioza and says whores will be whores. She doesn't tell him specifically what happened, though, which I thought was interesting. And she tells him they will leave in the morning, and she offers him some smokes and sleeping pills and tells him to get some rest. And she takes off, and Juice pops a pill. And then Chibs is at Althea's, and they slept together. So I didn't expect that. I expected them to maybe start a relationship and not sleep together. That was definitely surprising. I wasn't expecting that, but I thought that was good because I'm happy for Chibs, I guess. But he gets a call and curses. He asks if it was all of them. Althea takes a joint from his hand, takes a toke as he says he'll be there. He tells her he has to go, puts on his pants, says he should get dressed too. She immediately looks very concerned about him, and she's now in uniform. She walks through Dioza making notes as the CSUs take photos, and she asks Wayne if this was the Chinese, and she says it's the worst massacre ever, and it was when she first started. So she's pretty much onto the Chinese right now. She's onto the Chinese right now. She thinks it was the Chinese that did it, and she pretty much just, suspects that, Jax is telling the truth here, that the Chinese did, and that's what she thinks is going on. So she tells Wayne to decide which side of the table he's on, and she goes to talk to Jax, and he says Lila usually opens up, and she says she knows he won't give them any information, and she says there's a room full of slaughtered innocents, and he says he's aware of that. She says she's been doing this for a very long time with MCs worse than his, and knows how to work around the outlaw code. So she says the feds and her bosses are going to be up her ass. She says he needs to bend with her. She says she doesn't care how the intel is delivered, but none of them are going to walk away whole. So she walks out, and Jax flicks his lighter off and on, open again, and Nero is watched by the Chinese as he heads to see Beresky. He finds the door shut, and Bearsky says they're not open. So Bearsky says he knows. You know, he tells him, I'm not here for food. And I thought that was funny that Nero says that. He says, I'm not here for breakfast. So Nero says he knows he's not there for breakfast, and the police are already there though, because they don't know what's going on. They want to find out what's going on here. So Nero tells him the Chinese did it, and Bearsky says that makes sense, and says the Chinks are camped out. Asian slur. I would hate to say that, but they said that. I am not calling anyone that. I'm just saying that's a very racial slur. If you call someone like that, if you call someone that name, I'm not calling anyone that. That's what they said. That's what this recap says, okay? I'm not racist, guys. I respect everyone. Honestly, I do. I'm just saying that. So Tom comes in and tells Nero that Henry needs to talk to him, and Bearsky says it's not his war, and heads to the back to cut meat, and they push Nero into a seat, which is true. It's really not his war. So at Redwoody, the girls are crying, the men are drinking, and Gemma comes in and takes Thomas from Wendy, and I thought the scene was very well done, in my opinion. She says Abel wants to know why he can't go to school, and Gemma says to stay close to Abel today, but says later they have to slip out and deal with Juice. So Lila comes crying to Gemma, who hugs and comforts her, and Lila's still alive. Lila's the only member of the Redwoody Club that's still alive, because, you know, she ran it. So Jax comes in, goes to Chibs and Bobby. They tell him Quinn and Montez are the only ones not there, and the guns are all gone. So he asks about the other Chars, and they tell him that they all know. And Wendy comes up to Jax, and he thanks her for helping out. She asks him to talk to Abel, and he's very scared. He doesn't really know how Abel's going to respond. Abel doesn't really know what's going on here. Obviously, Abel's scared. He's a little kid. He doesn't exactly know what's going on. And I think it's interesting how Abel keeps getting himself into these, situations, and they have to keep explaining to him what's going on. I definitely find that very interesting, in my opinion, that they have to keep doing that. I just thought that, I find that very interesting, in my opinion. So So basically, Jack sits with Abel, and this scene was very interesting, in my opinion, because as I've said before, they really are setting up Abel like he's turning into his father. There's one scene in particular in this episode that really makes me think that. So Abel asks when they can go home, and Jack says soon. He asks if someone died, and Jack says some friends got hurt, and Abel asks if he took care of those people, and Jack says he does. He says it's his job to keep them safe, kisses Abel on the head, walks off, and he thanks Wendy and says she's doing great with him, and she nods. Now, I was thinking, okay, that's good advice, but knowing what Jax does, Abel is probably going to think this is the right thing to do and start to possibly copy what he's doing, just because Abel's a little kid. He doesn't know any better. So I thought that's kind of what was going to happen here. So then Henry comes in, and this was a huge scene, very crucial scene in the episode. Also, I liked that this episode we saw the most of Henry, because we've seen Henry in one scene in episode 2. We saw him in one scene in episode 3. We did not see him in episode 4, but we finally see him in, a lot of the episode in this episode, which was very well done, because really, so far, it's a battle between Sam Crow versus the Chinese. I always forget the name of their gang, but you know what I mean. So Lin comes in and he tells Nero that this is getting tedious, and Henry asks why he's telling him he should trust Jax, and he says he's a liar and has been raping him and trying to take over his territory. And he says Jax is the one that took his guns and shot up his massage parlor, and he says his guns were both he's really he's pissed at this point. Obviously he's pissed. He's losing his club, basically. His club is just losing everything. They're getting blamed for stuff they didn't do, and he has no idea what's going on. Think about it. If I was in a club, if I was in some sort of club and I just start getting blamed for things and I have no idea what the fuck is going on, I would probably react the same way, because it's like, what's going on here? So he says his guns are being guarded by the MC, and Nero says if that's true, Jax has been lying to them both. And Henry tells Nero to deliver Jax to him today or he'll die, that is just huge what's happening there. So Henry definitely means business at this point. He tells him that security is not tight at the cripple home, shows him a photo. He lunges at him, but Tom holds him at gunpoint. Henry tells him to save his anger for Jax and says this is all his fault, which it is. It is Jax's fault. Jax is the one that started this plan. I completely agree with Henry. It's all his fault. Even though we're not really supposed to root for Henry, you kind of have to, because Henry isn't doing anything wrong here. He is just really pissed at Jax, and again, this is just Jax's vigilante mission for something that he did not do, but he doesn't know that because Gemma can't come clean to him. So it's just really interesting at this point. So Nero looks at the photos and stews as the Chinese drive away. So Tig tells Jax they have some Tacoma guys helping, and Rogue River is sending more. Happy says they're covering funeral expenses for the girls, and Colette and Jax agree. And Jax agrees. And Jax tells them that the sheriffs have no proof, but he likely suspects that it's the Chinese that did it. They tell him August called, and Jax says their assault on Henry's was airtight, which means someone gave up at the location of the guns. And Bobby says that Sam Crow, and Indian Hills, that's the name of the gang, Indian Hills, but they're the only ones that knew, and Jack says Beresky knew, so Tig asks how they pay back Henry, and Jack says they need to smoke him out since he will be off the grid. So they decide to go to Beresky's, and he tells Bobby to have Nero meet him there. So Gemma pulls Jax aside and says she has to go to her dad's nursing home since he took a turn for the worst. And again, she's not really telling him where she's going. And I gotta say, Gemma's really doing a great job covering this up. I mean, we're 5 episodes into the season, she's still covering this up. She's doing a great job doing it, definitely. So he says he doesn't like it, but she says she'll take Unser. She'll take Wayne. And Wendy says she's got the boys, and Jax tells his mom to go to check in often. And then we see Tig, and he tells Jax that Althea's there, and she has to talk to Chibs, and he asks for a moment, and Jax tells him to talk to her, then meet them at Beresky's. That's where they're going. So then we get this really nice scene with Althea and Chibs. Well, not really a nice scene, but it's a big scene with Althea and Chibs. Althea tells Chibs she knows his call was about Dioza, and he says they had nothing to do with it. She has who floated into Morado and just murdered 16 people randomly. He says she needs to lay low while they make sure it doesn't happen again. She says the DA and feds are all over this. All over. This is what they're interested in. They're all over, it's not good. And Chip says he thought they had an understanding. He asks if she wants more money. She says she only takes the money because she has to work with the bad guys, and it makes them, feel like she trusts them. That's why she does it, because they think that she trusts them when really she doesn't. And Chip's asked about last night, and asked if that was about building trust, and she asked what it was for him. And he says he can't give her anything, and she knows that. And he says he doesn't want her either. So it's really complicated here, because you can see that the two of them, they really don't know what they are. They really want to start a relationship. And I personally would like for them to start a relationship, but they're not going to, just because they are so worried about what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen if they start this relationship. So you can see the two of them, as I said, definitely do want to start a relationship, but at the same time, they really can't. So he says he's going to talk to Jax, and then throw something her way so she has a win. He promises her no more dead bodies, and she says she can't lay low, calls him Flip. He says he gets it and tells her he has to go. She kisses him before he leaves. She tells him to be safe, and he says, and Juice then sticks his head out of the motel room and pulls up his hoodie. And he walks out front and down the side to a vending machine. And he gets a candy bar and then sees a newspaper box with a headline about the Dioza massacre. Buys a paper, sees one of the guys from, and now I can't remember the name of the Indian Hills. He sees one of the guys from there. The guy says, hey, and Juice runs to his room and closes the door. So the guy follows him, bangs on the door. Juice watches him walk away, sits on the bed, reads the newspaper. The club rides to Beresky's place and parks out back. Nero comes, and then this scene was just huge. I was not expecting it. Well, I was kind of expecting it because of what happened with Henry. I was not expecting this to be as intense as it was, though, because Nero comes out, punches Jax in the face. They are having, like, a huge fight and everything, and Beresky's just, like, breaking this shit up, and he's upset. He doesn't want them to be in like, this huge fight and everything. And it kind of makes sense why Nero's upset, because Nero had no idea what Jax was doing. So Nero's kind of feels very betrayed by Jax, definitely. This episode was a lot about people feeling betrayed, especially at the end of the episode, which I'm going to talk about. But Nero comes down and tells Jax he knows he's been lying to his face, and he says he had nothing to do with Henry when he was stealing his guns and shooting up his shop, and that's why all their girls are dead. That's why they're all dead. And he says now Henry's ready to kill him because he vouched for Jax, and says he's also threatening to kill his boy. He's also threatening to do it. So he shows him the photo. He says that all this is on Jax, and he tells Nero that the Chinese killed Tara, and Nero says he doesn't know it, but Jax says Gemma saw them and ID'd them at the party, and he says Henry ordered, the hit on his wife. Nero curses, and Jax says he did lie to him about it. He did lie to him about it, and he says he's sorry, but says he's going to destroy Henry and nothing can stop that. So, they make amends very quickly, and Jax tells him he has to decide what side of the fight he wants to land on. Does he want to be with Sam Crow, or does he want to be with Indian Hills? Because he's really in a tough position here, because he has to be loyal to Jax. He has to be, especially with a scene that's coming up, which I'll talk about. But he has to be loyal to Jax because that's his son. That is his his son-in-law. Well, not his son-in-law, but he is related to Gemma, who of course is Nero's with Gemma. So he has to be loyal to Jax, but at the same time, he doesn't really trust Jax right now. So he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's really in a bit of a position, and it really makes Nero a much more interesting character, in my opinion. I thought his character was really interesting in this episode. So Bobby comes and says someone gave up the location of the guns to Henry, and he tells Beresky they were the only ones who knew, and Beresky says he has a night guy that patrols it. They pretty much think it's Beresky at this point. He says to see Desmond, a guy who owns a pawn shop and sells stuff that cops take from crime scenes. Jack says he knows Nero has to go, it's best for his family, but would appreciate a heads up once Nero decides. Thanks, Nero, and he goes. So, Gemma tells Wayne she told Jack she had to go check on her dad and asked him to ride with him to get Juice out of town. And then we get this huge scene here, and this really, again, remember when Jax had a conversation with Abel in the beginning of this episode? This really made me think that Abel is starting to become like his father. This really made me think that. Just because of the way the scene worked out, that's really what this made me think. That's really what the scene made me think here. So, we see, basically, Abel is with Thomas, and he's holding a hammer. And he's really acting like Jax here. This is definitely something Jax would do. He says he has to protect him, slams the hammer into the wall and says he's like, I want to go home. And Gemma's like, you can't. He then slams the hammer into the wall and he's like, I want to go home now. And I gotta say, the actor that plays Abel, amazing job. Like, I always get worried about child actors, because, they're not as experienced. They're not the best actors, but this kid really is doing an amazing job as Abel. Really, he's doing a fantastic job. And his brother starts crying. He tells Tommy he's sorry. Wendy scoops up the baby, and Gemma takes the hammer and scoops up Abel. So that's really the only thing we see in this episode, but I like how slow-paced this is, because I really feel by the end of this show, Abel is going to fully become into Jax, and he's going to want to possibly carry on the family business. I feel like that's where this is heading, because Abel thinks that Jax is doing a good thing, which he is, but he's not at the same time. It's really complicated in thinking, is Jax doing a really good thing here? It's really complicated. So Beresky and the guys go to see Desmond, and he asks if there's a problem, and Jax says a warehouse he was supposed to be watching got jacked, and one of his crew got hit. Des says it didn't happen on his patrol, and Beresky asks if he saw anything or said anything, and he asks when he made his last drive-by, and he says 5:30. Jax hits the guy, says he's trying to jog his memory, and Beresky's like, what the hell did you do that for? But the guy's like, what did you do that for? Beresky says he pays him a lot of money. Tig says to pull his pants down, he says he's going to shove a flute up his ass. I thought that was really funny. Why are they making Tig have all the funny lines? Seriously, he's hilarious. He really makes the show funny. Even though the show's a very dark show, Tig manages to make it funny, and I like that. So Beresky accuses him of lying. He says he's not, and Beresky puts a bullet right in his head, calls him a greedy shithead, and Jack says he guesses they're done talking, and he killed him. So Beresky tells them they're sorry and says it's tough to find people you can trust these days. Rat Boy kisses Brooke, which was interesting, and Wayne says she seems nice. Rat says that she's cool. That was hilarious, because he just kisses her, and he's like, oh, she's cool. So Wayne asks what happened, and Rat says someone gunned down all their whores, and Wayne says he got there, and asks who, but what Rat says he doesn't know. He asks where Jax went, and he says they need to check in with him before he leaves with Gemma, and Wendy asks Wayne who he thinks did it, and he says it was a long list. So Wendy tells him that when she was with Nero the other day, a Chinese guy stopped him and accused of MC stealing his guns. So she asks if that had something to do with it, and he says he doesn't know, but thanks for telling him. Nero shows up at Redwood, he asks to talk to Gemma, and he tells her Jax told him about the Chinese and what she saw. He is really determined to find out what actually happened here, and Gemma tells her her bullshit story, and he believes it. His only question is how did she see it, and basically says she, basically he wants to know, how'd you see it? That's what he wants to know. And he tells her Jax told him about the Chinese, and Basically, he says the war is coming to Charming and it's going to get a lot bloodier. Jack shows up and asks if everything is okay. Gemma says she and Wayne are heading out. He tells his mom to be careful, and she says she will. And Nero tells Jax they need to talk, and he agrees. And Juice is then lying in bed. Someone pounds on the door. This scene was just like, oh my god, Juice. This really shows how stupid Juice is. Rolls off the bed, and I believe it was Henry at the door, or one of the guys, Asian guys, opened the door. The guy comes in the room, looks around, peeks his head in the bathroom. He slams him in the face, knocking him... Sorry, guys, my air conditioner's making weird noises. Of course, late at night it has to make weird noises. The guy comes to, tries to run. Juice shoots him before he can make it through the door, blows his face away, clearly over the edge. But here's the thing. He's part of his gang. Like, seriously, he's part of the gang. He owns the hotel room, and Juice doesn't even realize it. I really found that hilarious. So, Ryu calls and tells Bobby that Henry will meet them, and Tig says Bearski wants another 5K to provide extra firepower, and Chibs comes in and says they're all set, and Jax says, let's go make a deal. Nero is with Henry and says he's connected to Jax through his mom, and Henry says pussy can't get in the war of what they do, and it's true. I agree with definitely what Henry says here, that Nero really needs to pick a side here, and I like this scene with Nero because it really shows that Nero, the tough position that he's in. So Nero says Jax told him his plan. He says he's going to call and try to set up a meet at the port. And he says he's going to tell him he's going to give his heroin back as a gesture of goodwill. He says a bunch of guys from the MC and other charters are going to take him out. And Henry says he already got the call. Nero tells him to bring everyone he's got. He says he'll need an army. And Gemma is then knocking at the door and tells Juice it's her and Wayne. And he lets them in and she sees the blood. And Juice says the guy saw him, and he asks if the Chinese did the DO's a job, and he tells Gemma this is their fault, which it is. And Wayne says the guy has master keys. He says he works for the hotel, with not Henry. And Juice has dumped the body in the tub, and Wayne's upset, obviously, because Juice is scared of the Chinese. And she wants to know, he asks Gemma why, and what he meant by saying we did this. And Gemma tells Wayne the Chinese killed Tara, and she says she saw them leaving, and, she tells him the full story, her bullshit story, what happened and everything. And Gemma thanks him, and he asks if she's okay to take Juice, and she says it has to be done. Juice comes out ready to roll and tells Gemma, let's go. He looks at Wayne and thanks him. Now, I was really wondering where this was going, because I didn't know what was going to happen here. So Althea then gets a call from Wayne. He tells her the Chinese hits Dioza in retaliation. He says the MC is convinced the Chinese killed Tara. So basically, they're moving out. They're ready to arrest him. And basically, then we get this really intense scene. I love this scene. This scene was awesome, honestly. I still don't know the name of the guy that plays Jax, but whoever plays him, amazing scene from him. And also the guy that played Henry. Amazing scene. So Henry and his people pull up to the port. The MC guys wait, and the Chinese come in with hot guns, in hot with guns out there in a really big rage at this point. Jax asks what this is. Henry wants to know where his heroin is, and Jax says it's in the warehouse. Henry gives orders. They fire into the warehouse door with automatic guns, pull up to the doors, sees a small bag sitting there. He tells them to open it. They grab the bag, come back out. He sees his heroin. He says he's short, and Jax says he got some of Mark's, who is running the Ninners. And Jack says Mark's ordered all the hits, and Chib says he's going to swallow them all up. He says he has Tyler and the other Niners in his corner, and Jack tries to talk him down, and says if he's lying, he can kill them both, he and Chibs, and he basically tells him what his plan is, that he's going to kill all of them, and he's telling him, you're responsible for this, and Henry's like, what the hell are you talking about? Cop cars are surrounding the Chinese, and tells them to get out of the cars and get on the ground. They unload them, and, Jax and Henry get into this huge fight. It was really awesome to watch. Basically, Chibs says they have no time for this. Althea tells Chibs, Stockton, PD is on the way with the SWAT team. Chibs curses, tells him that the real cops are on the way, because those weren't the real cops. That was just the MC. So, he says they could have eyes on them, says they'll get him on the inside. They roll out. Henry asks what the hell that was, and he's arrested. So, he's arrested, and if we didn't know that Gemma killed Juice, you would think that this would be the end of it. And I honestly thought that was awesome, because Jax basically thinks he's done his job here. And now, basically, all I need to do now is just kill the rest of, I can't remember the name again. I keep forgetting the name of their gang. I'm sorry, guys. I just keep forgetting. I don't know why. I keep forgetting the name of their gang. Indian Hills. He needs to kill the rest of the guys in Indian Hills. That's what he needs to do here. So, I thought that was definitely really interesting what happened there. So yeah, so I definitely thought that was interesting with that happening. That was really intense, definitely, and I really loved that scene. But of course, that's not the end of the episode because this episode ran very long, and I really liked the way this episode ended. Because Gemma's driving on this curvy road out on the sticks. She reaches back into her bag, pulls out her gun with a silencer on, and I'm like, oh shit, what is she about to do? You see Juice sleeping in the car, and I'm like, oh shit, what is she gonna do with Juice? By the way, best montage so far, by far. I love the montage in this episode. Gotta love me some hair. Love me some hair. Love me some, musical theater. It was great to hear that rendition of it. I thought it was a very good, rendition of it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was an awesome montage. And basically, we see Nero playing with the girls. Wendy sits with a sleepy Tommy beside Nero. And Althea calls Unser. And Althea calls Wayne. I keep calling him Unser, sorry. It says Unser here, so I keep saying that. She thanks him for the lead. She says she got Henry and his crew on gun and drug charges. She thinks everything's okay there. The MC rolls through Oakland, and by one of Henry's places, they gun down the guys outside without ever slowing their roll, and I thought that was really intense. I was not expecting that at all. So they basically kill a bunch of guys there. Juice wakes up and asks Gemma where they're going, and I thought the scene was extremely well done. I personally just love the scene. By far the best, probably the best scene in the episode by far. I love this scene because she says they have a ways to go. She says that, she tells them to go back to sleep. He sees a sign. That's why they're in Salt Springs instead of heading north, because she said they're heading north. And she says Jax was worried about her traveling and sent Rogue River to meet her, so she changed plans. She says it's okay. They're going to meet a friend of Nero's who is a former coyote who can sneak him into Mexico. And Juice asks if he's meeting them in the middle of nowhere, because they're in the middle of nowhere at this point. She says the parking lot at Walmart would have been obvious. He asks if she remembers Darvani. He says he killed her, and it wasn't an overdose, which was really bad. I thought that was interesting. And she asks why, and he says it was on Jack's orders. He says that's what you do when someone is a threat. He says when he almost OD'd at Dioza, Nero tried to help him, and he told him the truth. He says that's why the club wants him dead for betraying their king. And Gemma tells him she's sorry, and he says it is too, because he knows that why she's lying to him. Because Nero would never help him. Nero would never help him, ever. So, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, Gemma's probably going to kill Juice. I really felt she was going to kill Juice in this scene. They struggle for it. The car runs off the road. I mean, this scene was just so awesomely done. It crashes. Gemma gets out and runs. Juice has the gun, shoots near her, tells her to stop. She says she didn't know if she was going to kill him or not. She says she didn't know what to do. She says she didn't know, what to do, and begs him not to kill her. She calls him sweetheart. He's literally pulling a gun right near her, and basically that's how the episode ends. And she begs him, she cries and begs him not to do it. So basically now Juice knows that he's been betrayed. He feels really betrayed. And it looks like next week Juice is basically going to try to get himself safe elsewhere. Maybe work. I'm wondering if Juice is maybe going to work with the Chinese, because we see a scene where he's not with Sam Crow. He's obviously not going to work for Sam Crow because he's been betrayed by them. He wants nothing to do with them. I think Juice at this point just feels really betrayed, and it was good to see that. I really enjoyed seeing that. And, in the promo next week, we saw a scene. Maybe he's going to work with, the other gang, which, again, I forgot their name. I keep forgetting their name, guys. I need to write this down somewhere. I don't know what's wrong with me. But this episode was amazing. I loved it. By far best episode of the season. Just, wow, such an awesome episode. So much to talk about. First of all, Jax pretty much thinks he's done his work here. Now he just needs to kill the rest of the people, in the gang, in the gang, and then he'll be done with that. So that he thinks that's really all he has to do now, but there's a lot more he definitely has to do. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. I really feel soon Gemma's going to tell him the truth. I really feel like she's going to. I feel like she's getting to a point where she's just going to have to tell him soon. Not yet. I'd say like episode 8. Episode 8 would be fine with me. And apparently in episode 8 or 9 or something, someone's going to die. So I just hope they don't do it where she tells him, then he kills her. That would be really anticlimactic, in my opinion. I really hope they don't do that. I don't think they would, but I don't know. Abel. Abel is definitely turning into Jax, and I really like seeing that he's slowly turning into his father. He thinks his father is doing a good thing, so that's why he's acting like him. I thought that was a very well done scene. I personally really enjoyed that. Really good stuff there. Althea and Chibs, I felt really bad for them because they really want to be in this relationship, but they don't really know if it's about building trust or what it's about here. So I really hope they figure things out. I really hope for their sake they figure things out. I like them together. I do. I like Chibs having a love interest. I like that personally. I know some people probably don't give a shit, but I thought it was well done. Juice, obviously, he is on to Gemma, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in the next scene. He's obviously not going to kill Gemma. Gemma's the second main character of the show. He's not going to kill her yet. We'll have to see what happens there. As far as the is there anything else to talk about? I'm trying to think of what else, if there's anything else to talk about. Nero. Nero really needs to make a choice here because he didn't really make a choice. He never said if he was loyal to Sam Crow or if he's loyal to, the Chinese. He didn't really say who he's loyal to here. So I'm really wondering who exactly is he loyal to. So I'm wondering what's going to happen here. And does he really trust Jax? I don't think he really trusts Jax at this point because Jax was lying straight to his face. So I don't think at this point Nero really trusts Jax. And overall, that one scene in the interrogation was really, that one scene where he attacked Jax was really awesomely done. I love seeing, the Henry and Jax face-off was awesome. I really hope that Jax finds out that basically he just, basically did put him in jail for nothing. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Henry's going to do. When Henry finds out why Jax did this, he's going to be pissed. Obviously, he's pissed. He's already pissed, but I really feel Henry's going to kill Jax. I feel like the final scene in this show might end up being a Henry Jax face-off, or at least in the finale, because there's no way that Henry's going to be happy with Jax for this. Obviously, he's not. He was already really pissed at him. But that's basically it for my review. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Oh my god, the show is just getting better and better every single episode, and I'm loving it. That's it, my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.